So I'm Senior Systems Engineer with EPS, and David will be talking after me, is the Director of EMEA Accounts for Plume, and then Alexander will run the demo. So as I said, we'll try and get through the slides as quick as possible so we can leave a bit of time for that demo. Okay, so EPS Global, we're 22 years old now. We're the last decade we've worked in open networking. So small little background in open networking. About 2009, Facebook decided they wanted to redesign their network. So they designed their own switches, their own operating system, FBOSS, their own cooling, basically the whole data center. And that data center is still running in Prineville, Oregon. But what they did then was open source all their designs. From that, the OCP was created, which is the Open Compute Project. And now that looks after all the hardware. So open networking hardware. It's called disaggregation as well. It's kind of got a few names. So then speed forward to 2016, and the ONF started a project called CORD, which is Central Office Re-architected as a data center, specifically for telecoms, obviously, and then TIP. So most will have heard of TIP, the Telecom Infra Project. So they're working on Open RAN, they're working on everything from the master, from residence back to the data center, kind of end-to-end solutions. So where we fit in is kind of in the center of that ecosystem. So there's multiple hardware vendors. We have Edge Core Networks, UFI Space, Delta, Celestica, Quanta, and there's more. And then obviously we have heaps of network operating system, NOSs as we call them. You can see some of them there, Pluribus, Sonic, PK, IPI. So it's our role to kind of sit in the middle and know who's who has implementations, whose support is good, whose support is great. And obviously on the hardware and software side, which works together. And then obviously as well, what we do is we install the network operating system onto the box and the licensing and so on, and ship them direct to either data centers or central offices where they're ready to slide into a rack. So it just takes some of the hardship out of open networking. That's our dots on a map. We've 3 distribution hubs. We've one in Dublin for UK and EMEA, one in the US for obviously the Americas, and one in Suzhou in China for Asia. Case studies, you can see all these on the website. I know I have to fly through this. Mono Pacifico, multi-city ISP in Chile, and we're working on their backbone. Same with VTS in Burkina Faso, working on their backbone as well as implementing Plume for their subscribers. And then Zeta Connect. So we spoke with Zeta on a previous ISPA webinar about improved fiber connections to buildings using 100 gig bare metal with Oknos from IPI as a software. But we're working on all sorts of stuff in the UK. So we're working on a 400 gig backbone, lots of virtual BNG stuff, aggregation of OLTs themselves, there's bare metal OLTs now, with radiuses, lots and lots, any type of routing, peering, aggregation, core. So there's something for everybody in open networking. So a few trends for CSP bundles. So this is from Q1 2017 through Q3 2020. It's a kind of obvious what's happening. Voice down 6.5 million, video down 4.3, and internet up 9.4. So there's a big move to single play. And we'll see as we go on about Plume and as we explain it, how it's kind of helping to solve some of these issues. Operational costs are very high for ISPs, $150 for a truck rollout and $750 for a troubleshooting call. And again, we'll see as we get into Plume how it solves those issues. So EPS and Plume's partnership for a seamlessly integrated offering. So EPS looks after the hardware side, and Plume obviously provides their smart home software. This slide has changed dramatically since we started talking to Plume. I see over 35 million homes and 240 service providers. Every time I've done this, it's growing by another heap of million, and the service provider side growing by a heap as well. So pretty impressive for a company of Plume's age. I'll quickly go through this. Reform the bundle around experience. So I actually have 3 Plume pods in the house, and obviously you get the flawless connectivity, very easy to set up. Cyber protection is really good, but that always works in the background. The home awareness stuff, which we'll show in the demo, is brilliant. Motion sensors in the house showing movement. But the part that myself and my wife have been really impressed with is the parental control side. So our kids are 6 and 7, so starting to use tablets and so on. And the control we have of that is absolutely brilliant. And even to see what they can't look at and seeing what they're looking at. So that'll all go into the demo anyway. So how can EPS help you? So obviously there's a global chip shortage. And when we started working with Plume, we were getting lead times of between 52 and 104 weeks for the hardware side. So the hardware has to be OpenSync compatible. OpenSync is open source software that allows basically the CPE devices to speak to the cloud, so speak to your app. So we're working with SIG, Sagicom, Kaon, EdgeCore, and all the other CPE vendors. And we have stock now of SuperPods with AC and AX, so Wi-Fi 5 and 6, and Plume routers as well in stock in Dublin. So I'll leave it there and hand it over to you, David.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Yeah, so I'll quickly whiz through these slides. In terms of time, I think we really want to spend as much time as we can on the demo. But what I'll introduce today, for those of you not aware of where the Plume solution sits, and basically underlining the story today about improving and enhancing digital subscriber experiences. And fundamentally, that's what's at the heart of what Plume does with its AI-powered Plume Cloud. So underlining some of the points that Barry brought up earlier, we are very, very well established, in some of the largest CSPs globally, with footprints of millions of subscribers. But I think one of the most, interesting statistics that we've started pushing out recently is that we're actually got in excess now. I mean, again, this is probably a few weeks old now, in excess of 1.2 billion devices physically attached to our network endpoint. So in terms of scale and reach, the Plume Cloud really is an amazing piece of technology and engineering. And I think, for any CSPs looking to deploy a cloud-based solution, we can give some really excellent reference points in terms of scale and size and reliability in those deployments. So in terms of looking at why you would like to deploy this, I mean, fundamentally, we've got some really interesting customer statistics, but, fundamentally, I'll call out three here that I like to talk about with ISPs, CSPs, is the ability to increase revenue per user, by adding on an enhanced Wi-Fi experience solution. We're seeing in some areas, $15 plus in terms of incremental revenue. Net Promoter Score, I think most ISPs will use that as a fundamental KPI metric as part of their day-to-day running of the business. And again, we've got some really good statistics that show we can have an NPS uptick of over 60 points. And again, underlining one of Barry's points, we're all, as an ISP, CSP community or a vendor supplying to those, looking to reduce or cut down the time for support calls. And by deploying the Plume platform, we've seen declines in terms of support calls by up to 51%. So the opportunity, why and how is Plume succeeding in the current market? And, again, I'd underline some of the other comments I've heard in the other panels. The pandemic has certainly helped our business because people working from home want the Wi-Fi to work, want a great experience, and Plume can certainly help deliver that. So in terms of kind of four key tenets of the Plume solution, future-proof, we're scalable, we're in the cloud. We innovate, and we mentioned OpenSync earlier. We're able to roll out on multiple different CPE devices as well as our own. We give a superior self-aware network within the home, so we're also able to give the parental control and security elements that are developed in there. And as I said, in terms of a cloud-based technology, we can grow and scale with our customers and with our subscriber base. And this really is fundamentally in terms of the trend in the marketplace from traditional basic Wi-Fi connectivity with pretty dumb Wi-Fi and simple to use apps to a very, very user-friendly but comprehensive user suite of of applications that sit within our WorkPass and HomePass solutions. So before I hand over to Alexander, I'll just quickly highlight that, at the core of what we offer is the Plume Cloud and the OpenSync software running on the CPE. And we have two products that run within the home or the small business. So HomePass for running in the subscriber end of the home, and WorkPass in the small business owner. And then we have tools which are fundamentals of what we offer in terms of Haystack and Harvest, which are the ISP tools that would sit within your call center. So I'll leave it there. It will be really nice as ever. We'd love to partner with ISPs across the UK. I will hand over to Alexander now to give a full in-depth demonstration.
Yeah,
thanks, Alexander.
David. Thank you. I will just go through the demo for both applications. So just for HomePass, it's just for home users. And on the right side of my screen, you have application which is meant for end users, so really end users at homes. And you can see it's pretty simple, and it's pretty simple to use and explanatory. So you get a lot of information, and the same thing you can see as a service provider. So I will try to kind of go only through the service provider part of the backend tool, so frontline we call it, which is basically the same, but it gives you more information. So as an agent who is sitting somewhere in the contact center and accepting a call from the end user, you would like to see who is calling, what it was done in their environment, how the network looks like, so for network status and performances. So you get all these bubbles you see here, giving you some information what is happening with the current installation. So I'm showing you my own installation at home, and you see one red bubble. It's saying that I have chronic problems with some devices with connectivity to the wireless network. And our solution is not just about wireless and the network connectivity, but is also partnering with different clouds like Akamai for security, Sense is for cognitive is for sense or for motion sensing. I will try to explain that really quickly, but let's stay here because from this side you can get a lot of information for an agent who is troubleshooting something. So in this case, you could read which devices are not good, and then you can go immediately to topology and see how these devices are connected. So you can use some of the overlays, and when you do a band warning, you get, the device maybe is capable of going to on 5 gigahertz, but it's staying on 2.4 because our optimizer is trying to find out the best way that the device is going to work and the best experience for that device. So the application which is used, and you see this is in real time. So some of the movement in the network you will see. And even with the time machine, for instance, someone is calling you and says, I had a problem with wireless yesterday, you can easily go on that one and load data. So we don't have enough time, but you can load the data and you get the data that was valid yesterday, and you can start troubleshooting. So a lot of things you can get out of the topology. For instance, you see that I have two nodes. They are connected with UTP cable directly to a CP device. I call this over the top. So I'm using Plume pods just for over the top connectivity, just for wireless and security. But for routing and all these things, I have existing CP from my local service provider. But you could use one of those also to be a router, so to be a CPE device. So it depends how you would like to do and what kind of connectivity things you have. We could use one of those also, like a CPE device. And from the perspective of pods, you get all the information about the nodes that are there for connectivity. So what are the capabilities, what are the channel congestions, what devices are connected at, and in what kind of state they are. So, and the same thing we are doing for the devices. So for the devices, we are profiling them. So that's another third-party integration with Fingerprint Bank. So we try to get the information what the device is, because the optimizer will use that and try to kind of optimize the network for that particular device, so that the quality of experience is going to be the best for that particular device. And you see that we get, sorry for clicking that. So you see some of the history. This is still pretty high level information, but if you would like to get more information of the QoE, we are measuring that on nodes and devices, but we are measuring that only on wireless connected devices, not on wired, because we assume that wired devices are pretty they are okay and reliable. So if you go on the devices, you will see what kind of data we are getting, and the only real data that an agent needs is weighted QoE score, because weighted QoE score is calculation between all these data that we are collecting for that particular device, and we are trying to get the score to an agent. What is the quality of connectivity or experience for that particular device? And it's similar to a MOS score, so going from 0 to 5, and everything above 3.5 is really good. And we are also enabling live mode, so you can even get to a mode where you have real-time information. So you get real-time information how the device is behaving on a network. And this is from the networking perspective. Then we have guard, which is security. As I said, we are using Akamai, and we are exposing some of the things to service providers. So we can apply policies per network, per device, also per user, which can be created in the application from the end customer. And you can, as an ISP, you can help them configure those things, because usually those people are not technical enough, so they don't understand most of the things. But yeah, you can do that remotely. You don't need to send anyone to that person, and you can help them configure, and you can whitelist, blacklist. So we do a lot of things like advanced IoT protection. So for IoT devices, we measure what is the normal traffic and what are the anomalies, and if the anomaly comes, we can notify the user and also block that traffic. So we are using a lot of techniques for security. The fourth one, as I mentioned before, cognitive, is for sense of motion sensing. When is good to have motion sensing? Like when everyone left the network, and you would like to see if someone is passing your network, you can use not just nodes but stationary devices. And when someone is passing your network, his body is kind of interfere, so we know that something is happening. And you can even give places where the stationary devices are, so you know where something happened, and you send a notification. This is some kind of physical security add-on to a physical security, not just this one, but all the measures that you have for physical security. So you can use Sense for that. And the fifth integration is with Ookla servers. So we are measuring connectivity from the household towards the service provider. So we are measuring those things 6 times per day, and we can measure them from all the nodes that are installed. By default, we are doing just on one, but you can enable that, and even the end customer can do that. So you can see that the speed checked, the checks of speed is also available at the application. And tier 2, tier 3 agents who are more technical savvy, they can configure a lot of things like DHCP, also enable DHCP version 6. So a lot of things can be done in configuration. So this is kind of a high level of a frontline tool. If you have any questions, I am open for them.